energy, kinetic velocity required to be given, minimum speed required to be given to a body
to escape from gravitation.
yes, to make it escape to infinity. Infinity means very large distance away. So large distance away that there the gravitational field will become negligible. Very large distance away, we have to make it escape. In order to do that, what is the speed required? That will be escape velocity. So I think that speed will also be dependent on whether I am escaping it from here, point A, or from the surface, point B, or from some tunnel inside somewhere, maybe point C, or center, exactly center only. Means there can be different places from which I am making it escape. Not only that, this also is possible. Body A and some major mass of Earth, maybe mass of Moon, something is here, and in between from some place, maybe from null point, I am making it escape, or I'm making it escape from the surface of the Earth, but Moon is also there, and I have to take care of Moon also. So these different cases are possible. Or in this, one case could be possible. I don't want to make it escape, but I just want to make it reach to the Moon. I will have to just throw it up to the null point. If it is able to reach up to the null point, after that, whose gravitational field will become stronger? Then the Moon's gravitational field will become stronger. So if I take a line joining Moon and Earth, if I take a line joining Moon and Earth, and I make it go up to the null point, then beyond that, it will be pulled automatically by the gravitational force of attraction of Moon. But while solving such problems, we usually make one assumption. That assumption is, we assume that there is no rotation involved here, because if rotation is there, then the things will be much more complicated. So this assumption we will have to make when we are asking such questions in order to just simplify. It is just assumption to simplify the problem. Otherwise, obviously, practically, it will not make much sense how the things can just remain stationary without rotating. Okay, but it is just we can say for our easiness we do that, and we discuss such questions by that time. Anyway, next, now let us come to this only, and let us start doing one case at a time. Let us start with the case where the body was already at a distance. I will start with this, where r is greater than r already, and body is here, mass m is here. This is the Earth having capital M mass. Radius of Earth is capital R, and I want to make it escape from this place. So only simple thing that we have to do. If I want to make it escape to infinity, then at infinity also it should still have some kinetic energy left. So mechanical energy is always equal to kinetic energy plus potential energy. And as as you know, potential energy at infinity will become zero.
Zero, yes.
At infinity is zero. Kinetic energy at infinity. So kinetic energy means it still should carry some kinetic energy. Mechanical energy at infinity will be just equal to kinetic energy at infinity. And if I want it to escape, its kinetic energy should not become zero, or it should remain positive. If it remains positive, then it means mechanical energy should remain positive. If mechanical energy remains positive, it does not mean that I will say that it remains, it becomes positive, but it can approximately become equal to
Minimum means greater than
zero.
or equal to 0.
Minimum, yes, minimum. When we want minimum, then minimum is it can become zero also. It can become zero also because we want a minimum value, right? So then what is our answer in that case? In that case, our answer will be half of m into v square minus g capital M small m by r is, if we want it to be minimum, I want kinetic energy minimum will obviously be zero at infinity, and then if it is minimum, mechanical energy minimum will be zero. But mechanical energy is conserved. Now it is not about infinity. In the beginning, I am writing at infinity, but it is actually mechanical energy at any other place because there are no losses. Why there are no losses? There is no drag force anywhere. No, we are assuming no cosmic dust is present. It is just freely moving away. There are no other things also in space. While we do such questions of escape velocity, then we assume there is no sun, there is no other things are there in space. Only as if only Earth is there and this thing is there which we are projecting, and there is no other thing in the space. There are no other gravitational forces. At that, then we are discussing this. Otherwise, what happens? Otherwise also, by giving it this velocity which we are going to find here, it will escape the gravitational field of Earth, but it does not mean it will escape the solar system also. It may still remain in the solar system. It may start orbiting around Sun. That may happen. Okay. So our escape velocity cannot guarantee that it will escape to infinity. Why it cannot escape to infinity? Because only Earth is not pulling it. It is being pulled by Sun. It is being pulled by maybe stars also, several other galaxies also. So to leave the entire galaxy, that will be a different problem. Okay, so that in that case we have to take the mass of galaxy also into consideration. If we have to leave the solar system, we have to take the mass of sun into consideration, and we have to see what is the gravitational potential energy due to sun. Then I have to add one more potentiality term here. That will be because of sun. From sun, g into mass of sun into this mass upon whatever distance from the sun it is there. That we have to add it in it. But anyway, we can do this, right? If we consider the other planets also, then it will be better. Then we have to consider the total mass and we have to consider their distances. But the problems will be much more complicated in this way when we consider many bodies together. Therefore, we don't do that. Normally, in such cases, in gravitation, it is a unsaid rule. Nobody says sometimes also, but it is unsaid rule that when we are discussing about one body and other body, then we are assuming that other bodies are not existing. Only these two bodies are existing. Okay, that is usually always there. So keeping that thing in mind, half mv square minus g capital M small m by r will become equal to 0 in order for v to be minimum. Then what is v coming out to be? V is simply coming out to be g m by r into 2 under the root. But I know this. If it is true, then g into m will become
G r square.
any other place. It is already at a distance r. It is not g at the surface. If I okay, let us. I think what is the use of writing for at this way? It is better. Either I will remember this, but if I want to remember with respect to g at the surface, then I will call it g surface into r square divided by r square. Okay. Sometimes it may be convenient because we may remember g at the surface into r square by r cube. It will become, I think, right or not?
Sure.
No, wait a second. I'm doing. Wait, I have done something wrong here. Wait a second.
2gs into r square by r only, sir.
Yes, sir.
Gm
I
by
should
r
do this
square.
only. This only.
Gm by capital R square. Sir.
GM was just equal to GS into
R
R
square.
square. That is it. So therefore, we should write this only. V
2
escape.
gs r square by
V escape. This only. V escape is this, right? That thing I can write as root 2 GS into R upon R under the root. I am writing in this way because some students can remember this. If they remember this, then the problem will become easy to calculate. Sometimes it may help us. Sometimes it may help us, but not always. Depends on the situation. Sometimes they may give us calculations in such a way so that if we do this, then we may get answer easily. The things may get cancelled out. But if nothing is getting cancelled out, then we may remember this, and from here we can get. Okay. As usually they don't ask to calculate this. They don't give us m or g, etc. They don't give us these things, but they just discuss about answer in terms of either in terms of gm. This only will be the answer. Either this case, or they can ask, or they can ask proportionality. Means one is projected from here, other is projected from r by 2. Then what will be the ratio of their speeds, which we need? Such kind of questions they can ask, right? Anyway, now if I have to ask this question here, not something related to, which is not escape velocity, actually it's some different question, but based on same idea, same principle. We can say these are all based on conservation of mechanical energy. We are right now doing conservation of mechanical energy application. And I will take many questions in this, not just standard question only. One question could be this. We want to project the particle with velocity v so that it attains height r by 2 from the surface we are projecting it. What will be the time taken by the body to reach the highest point? And what will be the speed required to be given? Okay, first you find speed only, leave time, forget time. Find out what is the initial velocity required to be given. Question is, we want to project the body vertically upwards. What is the initial velocity required to be given so that it goes up to height r by 2? Root 2 into G into H is initial speed,
Yes,
right or
sir.
not? Wrong here.
Gravity
Reason.
change is not.
In this case, G is not a constant, it varies. How do we know it varies? Because we are not going over a small height, but we are going over a large height. It is R by 2 height. Whenever height is given in terms of R by 3, R by 9, R by 10, even something in terms of R it is given, it means they don't want us to neglect it. They are considering it to be sufficient. So they say that a particle is projected with horizontal ground with speed u equal to 10 meter per second, and they ask it. Then we understand. Now, what height will it will attain? Then it will be just u square by 2g will be the height attained. That is okay because g is constant in this. We can understand it. But on the other hand, if they give these speeds, they give speed very high, something like maybe okay, I will give you idea. Escape velocity, if we do the calculation, it comes out to be equal to root 2 GSR. This comes out to be 11.2 kilometer per second. That's why I said that some students will remember this data, and as a result, it will be helping them to determine this data also, escape velocity from other point, because we know this, and this we can calculate, so we can get the answers. No? Directly, it will be fast process. For example, they may give small r is equal to 4 times r. If it becomes 4 times r, it will become 1 by 4 root. That will be 1 by 2. So then answer will be easily obtained. What is the escape velocity from that? We can obtain it easily. Okay. And this escape velocity, one more thing I would like to say, it will not even depend on the fact whether I'm projecting particle this side or this side or this side.
It does not depend upon angle.
Yes, but it will depend on, I should not do that stupid thing that I project onto the earth only. So that it strikes the earth. As long as it is not touching the surface of earth and it is not touching the cloud in the atmosphere, it is not touching atmosphere, not feeling any drag. As long as that thing is happening, then it will be whatever angle we project. It doesn't even depend on that. Okay, it doesn't even depend on that, and it will be simply going away to infinity. Path follow may be different. If I project in this way, then it may be just going in a straight line path. On the other hand, if I project in this way, then for when it goes to infinity and its mechanical energy is 0, when its mechanical energy is 0, then the path followed is parabolic. What path it is following? For mechanical energy 0,
parabolic.
Path it parabolic. And for mechanical energy greater than 0, the path followed is hyperbolic. For equal to 0, parabolic. Let me write it somewhere. Mechanical energy when it is 0, then path followed is parabolic. I am saying parabolic, but I am also telling you that it could be straight line also if it is just projected radially outwards. But when mechanical energy is greater than 0, then the path followed is hyperbolic. Okay.
Sir, less than
so okay. Less than 0 means elliptical. Where is it? Mechanical energy less than 0, then the path followed is elliptical.
Sir,
or it could be circular also.
Bonded orbital means elliptical.
What? It will be bonded. Though it is bonded, then it should be closed. If it is closed, then it will be circle or it will be ellipse. Path parabola is not closed and hyperbola is not closed, so it cannot be that. It could be elliptical, or a straight line can always be there. Straight line only depends on this fact whether we are projecting along the radial line or we are projecting in other directions. Straight line can be there in all these cases, right? Whatever mechanical energy may be, straight line can always be there. But other than straight line, if it is some curvilinear path, then we can discuss in this way: greater than 0, hyperbolic; equal to 0, parabolic; less than 0, elliptical. And circle is also we can say part of ellipse, but we can say circular also. That we can say separately also. Okay. Now, when it will be circular in detail, I will discuss it. I will be coming to that. Let us leave it for some time. And now we see this only. If a particle is projected vertically upwards with velocity u, what height it attains? How to answer it? We will answer in this way. Half m. U is sufficiently large here. Means I am assuming large u, not small u. Or I am assuming this thing that it has to go to height r by 2. If it has to go to height r by 2, what is the u required to be given? Let us answer this question. So at a height r by 2, what will be the mechanical energy? At a height r by 2, mechanical energy will be minus g potential energy, because kinetic energy will become 0. It is the highest point. At highest point, kinetic energy becomes 0, so it is minus g m divided by 3r by 2. Right. That is the, if I'm projecting vertically upwards, it is for vertically upward projection. This is potential energy. What is the kinetic energy at highest point? 0. What is the kinetic energy plus potential energy? It remains conserved. So at highest point, it is same as in the initial place. K initial plus U initial is equal to K final plus this. That is equal to minus G M M into 2 by 3 R. Initially minus G M M by R. And kinetic
Half
energy
M
initially
by
is half of M into U square, which we wanted to find.
half mu.
This. So U comes out to be equal to into 1 by 3. It will become 1 minus 2 by 3, 1 by 3, and multiply by 2.
Under
M
root.
is cancelled, and we are getting under the root. This we are getting. If I want to write in terms of G at the surface, we can write 2 by 3 into G at the surface into R square. R square will be 1 R will be gone, 1 R will remain. This thing it will be finally. Okay. So that is our answer. So it is not root 2GH. If I say it is root 2GH, then answer would be something else. It is coming out to be root 2 by 3 into GS into R. So, but we can find in all this conservation of mechanical energy. This was for vertically upward projection. If I don't ask vertically upward projection, what you are going to do then? Let us say I'm not asking vertically upward projection. No, wait a second. I think that will become tough. First of all, I will take a radial projection only. Let us go the easy for the easy questions first. Then I will come to those cases. One case. If I want to project something from a parcel from moon to earth, earth to moon, a parcel from one planet to another planet. But on one thing, these are two stationary objects. Assumption is these are two stationary objects, and we have to project from one thing to the other thing. But that is strange assumption. I don't know why this question is even framed. This question, according to me, is wrong, and we should not even be discussing about it. But I have seen such questions to be asked sometimes in books, so I'm also going by their assumption. But it is completely absurd. These planets can never be stationary. Okay, I'm forgetting that glitch, and I'm assuming, okay, let us say these are stationary. This is M1 mass planet, M2 mass planet. Their radius are given R1 and capital R2, and the distance of the null point we can find out. I think center of mass is not null point, by the way. You understand? Center of mass is not null point. I have told you before. Center of mass is different. Null point is where the field is.
Root R1.
Null point will be obtained by G M1 by R1 square equal to G M2 by R2 square. There the fields are equal. So when we want to project some particle of small mass m, here small mass m we are taking, and this we want to send to that side, then it should be minimum with minimum speed. The condition is minimum speed. Otherwise, no problem. We can throw with larger speed also. With minimum speed, I should be able to just make it go to null point. After that, it should fall automatically onto because of the gravity of the other planet. So up to null point, I have to make it reach somehow. How to make it reach up to the null point? That we will do this way. Conservation of mechanical energy. Here I will write kinetic energy at null point plus potential energy at null point is equal to initial kinetic energy here plus initial potential energy here. We will equate this. Let us do that. K plus U is equal to K at null point plus U at null point. Null point, I have to find out where is the null point. Null point is at a distance. Total distance between these is given as R. I have to find answer in terms of R. I know R1 by R2 is equal to M1 by M2 under the root. And if that is true, then I can write it as root of M2 into what I can write this one as. I can write this one as I add one both sides. If I add one both sides, I will be getting R1 plus R2 upon R2 is equal to root of M1 plus root of M2 divided by root M2. R1 plus R2 is R, so R2 we are getting as R upon root M1 plus root M2 multiplied by root
M2.
This we are getting. Once we know R2, similarly we can get R1 also. I think just M2 will be replaced by M1 and exchange M1 and M2, we get answer that R into M1 and here M2 plus M1. It is same thing only, denominator will stay same. Next, K plus U is equal to Kn plus Un. We know what is Un. We know what is Kn. Kn can be 0 because I want minimum kinetic energy, right? What is Un? Un will become minus G
By R1.
M1 by R1, also minus G M2 by R. And R1, R2 I can write in terms of this, that we can do. What is initial potential energy? Initial potential energy, students commit mistake always in initial potential energy. They don't commit mistake in any other place.
But you wrote
That
this
is my common
potential
experience.
into mass,
I think R1 we have to.
into M.
Okay, do it. Let us see you will do it correct or not. Let us do it. Do it once. Because I know the common mistake is in the potential only, and you should also be warned. If you commit a mistake, then you are next time you will not commit it. So therefore, I want you to commit now. If you are not committing, then good only means. But I think if you are committing, then also no problem because you will be understanding for next time.
G.
I think minus G M capital M small m by capital R1.
Minus of G into M1
into
M
into
small m by
R.
capital R1. Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Then you did not commit mistake, I think. No, you already committed.
M2 by R.
You already committed. We have to take other distance also for the other planet also. So we have to write that is the mistake. This is the mistake I was talking about. This is the common mistake students will commit. And we also did that only. My experience always teaches me, right, that you see, I told you that you will be committing this, and you thought that only. Some of you may not have thought, although G M2 into M upon what will be R minus
Capital R2,
R1.
sir. R2. No, R1 only.
Again, see, second mistake. Please don't commit these mistakes. Now, these students can commit. Here, if you are not committing, then remaining is fine. Nothing is left now. What equation you have to use? I'm not solving it now, and you don't have to solve it because we know that we can do it. Just I have to put R1 value and R2 value, and everything will be in terms of small r, and all known values will be there, except u will be unknown. Remaining all will be known in this. Then we can get the answer in one step only now. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Please don't commit this mistake. Just be careful, and remaining is okay. You can do it. Now, this was of, again, radial line. Let me take some other cases as I was discussing that if I have to project something from the center of Earth, what will be the speed required to be given to project something from the center of Earth? Assume you know the formula that root 2 gs into r is given to you 11.2 kilometer per second. That is given to you. So I want exact answer from you. I don't want answer in terms of m, r, etc. I want answer because I have given you this data. Escape velocity from the surface of Earth is given to you. Given escape velocity from surface of Earth, and that is given to be 11.2 km per second. Then find escape velocity from the center of Earth. Assume there's a tunnel, small tunnel created from the center of Earth from which the body can be really.
Sir.
Do it. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The question I gave you, I said I will do this question. By that time, let me frame some other thing, but I think lost in between. The question is escape velocity from the surface of Earth is given. What is given to you? 11.2 km per second is given to you. You have to find escape velocity from the center of the Earth. You have to find the escape velocity from the center of Earth.
Screen share was stopped, sir.
I will start again. You have to find escape velocity from the center of Earth. Can you find out the escape velocity from center? In terms of what data we have to find out?
From center to surface, conservation of
Radius.
mechanical.
No, completely wrong you're saying. Why should we do that? Why should we waste time in doing that?
Sir, we had a formula.
I told you at center at least everybody should remember. You may not remember in other places, but at center you should be remembering.
Potential zero.
Potential at center is zero.
Potential
really?
energy, sir.
Why? Which potential energy is also, how is it zero? Really?
Electric field.
So, sir, it will not be 0.
Electric field is different thing. Potential energy is different thing. Two different quantities. How are you reaching such strange conclusions? Electric field zero, so potential energy zero. Otherwise, if electric field is always telling us about potential energy, then why should we define new term also? One thing zero, other is always zero. Then why should we even define that?
We have found a potential for center. No, sir.
Potential energy for center. we know,
I told
sir.
you at that time. I told you, I warned you that to please remember it. It is very important for us to remember. If you can
Minus
remember,
3
it will be
gm
much
by 2
helpful.
r potential. Sir.
Sir,
Minus 3
3
gm by 2 r.
Yes. 3 by 2 times the surface. 3 by 2 times the surface. Potential at the center is 3 by 2 times the surface. So m into Vc will be the potential energy. That will become m into 3 by 2 times the potential at the surface, which is equal to m into 3 by 2 times into minus G capital M by R. That is the potential energy at the center, not zero. It is not zero. How is it zero? It is not zero. Once we know this, then again, same thing. Kinetic energy given at center plus potential energy given at center, total should be, because we want it to escape to infinity. At infinity, I can take the mechanical energy to be zero. Whenever we want the question of escaping to infinity, always we will do this thing. We will put the mechanical energy zero and we will get answer. Can you do it now?
Done, sir.
Done, sir.
Done already. What is answer coming out to be? I can write it as half of m into u.
Root of
Half of
3gm
m
by
into
r.
u square is equal to m cancelled. We are getting u is equal to root of
3 into G at surface.
that is 3 into G surface into R. What was given to us? To us, it was given. 2 GSR was given.
GSR, we have
It is into root 3 by 2.
3 by 2.
To root 3 by 2.
Root of 1.5. Approximately, we will have to find out the value of 1.5, or I think we can find out root 1.5 or not. But it will be nearly. It is estimate now. You can do this estimation and you can get the answer anyway. This is you.
13.2, sir.
Another 1.5. What are you taking? Is 1.5 root 1.6. I think.
1.22, sir.
1.22 is right. Yes, right. 1.22 is better. Yes, right. We can do that.
13.7.
So that only. So fine, you can do it. Next, we can write this thing as if I ask you now, not of escape velocity, but something different. Let me ask this question. This is a annular disk. This question was also from previous IIT. It was asked once in IIT. This is annular disk, and along the axis of annular disk, there's a mass m. This is capital M. Sigma uniform annular disk is here. Let us say this mass is constrained to move only along axis due to the gravitational force of attraction. What will be its speed as it passes through the center of the annular disk? Dimensions are given, data is given. For example, it may be given that it was initially at a distance. I don't know what was the data they gave at that time. I'm giving you my own data. Let the distances be given like this. Let it be let it be 3r. Let it be 4r. Let it be 4r. Let this be the data given. Okay, inner radius 3r, outer is 4r, and this is 4r here, and then this system is released. As it is released, the force acting on small m is in this direction. If it is in this direction, it may start gaining speed in this direction, and it may enter and go to the center of it. And this will also not be addressed, by the way, if masses are comparable. If masses are very large, then it is a different thing. But otherwise, when we give such situations, then I am not giving it like Earth. It is not Earth, obviously. It is not something larger in mass. Even if I give, in fact, two masses like this also, then I should, if it is not mentioned that this is greater than, larger than this, then I should do this thing. I should consider the momentum of both. Same thing for escape velocity. Those questions will also become different. I think I should ask that question also when we want to escape something from the gravitational force of other. But those cases, let us say when m is equal to small m, then it is completely different problem. We will discuss that also. Okay, right now you answer this question. What speed it will acquire, this mass m will acquire when it reaches the center of disk, annular disk. Again, conservation of mechanical energy. So let us consider point number 1, initial and final at the center. So K1 plus U1 is equal to K2 plus U2. We want to find K2 actually. Remaining all things we know. If we know K2, then we can get velocity at 2 point. Zero kinetic energy initially plus U1. What is initial potential energy? Initial potential energy will be m into V1 minus V2.
V1 minus.
Now, what is that V1 minus V2 we should be knowing? And yes, this was really very disturbing for me that you were not able to tell me the centers formula now. Then how will you be telling me this formula at some point P, which is that this is tougher than this center formula. And I was expecting you to be knowing that and be able to derive that and be able to derive it very fast also.
Sir,
Let us say I don't ask this question, but I ask you this question. I ask you this question that from center we are projecting and it has to reach up to point P and then return back. P point is r/2 distance away. How will you do this question then? If you are not able to do that, then how will you be able to do this? You should be able to do that question also. We did this question last time, but last time we did in a different way. That was lengthy procedure. Now we can do it easily by conservation of mechanical energy. Try to do that also. Okay, next time we will do that. What we will do, with what velocity I should project a particle from the center so that it reaches up to r/2 distance. Okay, that we will discuss after this question is over. Some of you may try doing yourself only if you finish this first one first. What is V1, V2? V1 is equal to minus G into masses are given. Let us say what masses is given for this. Again, wait a second. I have done some kinetic energy will be for both. Kinetic energy will be for both. So I should not write kinetic energy as half mv square. What should I write? Half into mu into v relative square.
Yes, sir. M1 V1 equal to M2
This-
V2 again.
This V also will not be the V, which V will not be V here. V will be V relative. M1 V1 will be, let us call it M1. Let us call the other one as M2. M1 V1 is equal to M2 V2, and that is equal to mu into V relative. So by this we will not get a velocity of 1. By this we will get V relative. What is the relative velocity that we will be getting from this? But on anyway, if we are getting V relative, that is also good enough. And why we get this thing? This thing we get by conservation of linear momentum. So actually we are applying two equations here. In one equation only, there are two equations involved. The moment I write kinetic energy this way, then it means I have already used, which other equation I have used already? I have already used conservation of linear momentum equation. Then only I can get this kinetic energy, final kinetic energy. The kinetic energy 2 does not mean kinetic energy of 2. I think I should have now changed the subscript also. It is final, initial, 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 final. Initial, final. That is better because 2 appears as if I am talking about second mass, not second mass. Okay. What is V initially? Initial potential, potential or initial potential energy directly I could have written. Initial potential is potential due to what we have to find out. We have to find potential due to the disk in place of M1. M1 is a point mass here. The potential due to disk in this place. That is formula minus G sigma 2 pi into, if you don't remember this, then please, what should I do now? It will be tough to derive in the exam. Into this outer R2 distance, inner R1 distance, R2 minus R1.
It will be R, sir. Just R.
R2 is equal to 4R root 2, not just R. Inner one is equal to 5R. So it will be 4 root 2 minus 5 into G sigma 2 pi into minus into R. That is V initial. V final will be that what you are talking about. That will be when it is at the center. When it comes at the center, then it is correct. 4R minus 3R. That will be minus G sigma 2 pi into 4R minus
3R.
3R, which is just equal to, as you said, that only. Right? But now depends, if you don't remember the formula, then this again you cannot do it in the examination. Either you should be knowing it or you should be able to derive it very fast. I can derive it very fast actually. If I want to derive it, I have told you that I have told you several times that E perpendicular, E in perpendicular direction to any planar sheet will always be obtainable
G
so
sigma
easily.
2 pi.
I will find for this point mass. Yes, it will be G sigma 2 pi. This I think we can remember also. That will be E
Yes, sir.
perpendicular. And once I know that, wait a second, but from here, how will I get answer? By knowing E, it is not E also, it is VI. After that, I think integration, I have to do integration only. We cannot do directly. Wait a second, let me think.
Sir, we wanted to integral of y divided
G
by
sigma into D omega. G sigma into D omega into what I should do now. This is field, but I want something else. I don't want field. I want 0 D omega. I think
For annual disk, it is minus 2 pi sigma G into R2 minus R1 is the potential.
Means I think I was thinking. I think we have to start with potential, not with field. We have to start with potential. For a ring, for the ring, the potential will become minus G into dm by R oblique
small
distance
r. Yes, sir.
And dm we have to write as sigma into 2 pi R into 2 pi. It is actually y into dy, but in this case, luckily, it becomes also 2 pi R into dr. That is a good advantage for us. So RR will get cancelled. We can do it very fast if we remember this thing, that y into dy in this case becomes equal to R into dr. And if we know that, then the things are very simple for us. Just this thing we should remember. Okay. Anyway, now come back to this. We know. Just put the values here, initial and final values, and then see the answer finally. What do we get? V is equal to 2m by mu into V initial minus V final, then it will become G sigma 2 pi into 6 minus 4 root 2, I think. Just check if I'm doing calculation right or not. Into R under the root. Is it right? I think right only.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Correct only, sir.
Correct only. Then we know this now, and it is a it can be done easily. If the mass of the disk is very large, then I don't have to consider both kinetic energies. Then I will assume the mass of that disk will annular disk will remain stationary. Only small m1 will move. Now this question can be asked in very different ways. For example, I can ask in this way also, that this is a full disk, and this mass comes here, and it collides with the disk. The collision is inelastic or elastic, whatever situation. If it is elastic, then after some collision, what distance it covers. So if it is elastic, then it will be striking back, going again to the same distance, again returning back same way. Then what distance it will cover, we will find out. But again, answer still is not obtained. It was V. To obtain V1, our question was, what is the velocity of the M1 as it passes to the center? Then that will still be
Mu by
obtained as
M1,
mu
sir.
into
Mu
V
V by M1.
M1. That will be the answer finally. Because this was the question. I have not written the question, but I stated it. You can write it down somewhere. Here question asked was, what is the V relative? Here question asked was, what is the velocity of M1 as it
at the
passes
center
to
of
the center. So that was our question, and this we got as V1. So don't be hasty, and in that they may definitely give us V relative also. So we have to be careful in such cases. Now this M is given. What is the distance to be covered? Distance covered also, let us say if they ask distance covered, then we can find that out by distance covered. Can we find, or will it be tough? Let me think. I think we can find easily. Distance covered is very simple. In fact, I don't have to do anything in that case. M1 into S relative. Mu into S relative. Mu into relative distance. Mu into S relative is equal to M1 into S1 is equal to M2 into S2. That we can get easily. S relative is the total distance which is covered by M1 with respect to that. That will be 4R. Mu into 4R is equal to M1 into S1. This displacement I can get even without even calculating it, without even writing the conservation of mechanical energy, without doing anything. This directly we can obtain it. They ask about distance by just center of mass, by no need to use conservation of mechanical energy also in this case. Next we have one question which I wanted to ask, which is not of straight line case. These all cases are of straight line only, but there can be other possible cases. Means, see how many potential energy terms we know. As many potential energy terms we know, that many questions can be asked. So obviously there is no limit. For every potential energy question, there can be a question of conservation of mechanical energy also, right? Because mass, for every potential question, for every potential also we can do that. If we have one potential known, then potential times the mass will give us potential energy. Right. Now, what is the, just suddenly one question came to my mind. Can you find this one or not? If I give this and this, one its total mass is there, but I'm asking what is the interaction potential energy between 1 and 2. U1 plus U2 plus U12 will be equal to total U1. U1 we know, U2 we know, and we don't know U1 and we don't know U12. There are two things unknown. Can we find out U12? If we are able to find U12, then it can be done. But here
Sir,
U12 will also be, I think, tough to find. Yes.
Sir, here U1 unit no, sir.
Sorry, unit. It will be unit. One is on this part. It is unit. Sorry. U-net we know, U2 we know, but U1 we don't know, and U12 we don't know. I think it will be tough
So unit means
because we don't know.
We completed, sir.
We don't know two unknowns. We don't know two unknowns in this. We cannot do it.
Sir, we completed, sir.
That we did for
case, it is
concentric.
exactly the center, sir.
That we did for concentric, because for concentric we were knowing how to calculate U12, but it is not concentric. So in this case, in order to calculate U12, it will be tough task to calculate U12. Interaction potentiality of 2 with respect to 1 will not be easy task, at least for this particular scenario. I will try to frame this question and I will ask you. I think I can frame it. I'm noticing that I can do it, but it will become complicated. Slightly, it is complicated. It is not that simple. It is somewhat complicated. Anyway, I will frame this question and I will ask. But before that, there are already so plenty of questions which are important, essential, given everywhere in all the books. First, let us do those. Then we can come to such extra questions. This time is not sufficient. So this time I am even worried about doing the standard questions also first. Let us first finish the standard ones. Okay. Next, I was taking this. Okay, let us take this question slightly difficult now. Based on conservation of mechanical energy and conservation of angular momentum, always these two things will always be there with us. We will have to apply this. Capital M is given and small m is there here, mass, which is being projected. I have to project in such a way. I am projecting at an angle theta. Let us say I am projecting at an angle theta with the horizontal,
Radial
and then
line.
it is going here and then coming here. Now I can again ask you, radial line is vertical line actually. This is vertical, and vertical lines keep changing. This is vertical and here horizontal will be different. So it goes and it strikes again on the earth. Questions that I can ask maybe is starting with simple question: with what angle will it strike the earth surface? That can be one question which I can ask first. Very simple question: with what angle it will strike the surface of earth? I think I am again doing wrong. I'm taking tough question first. I will come to this question. This is good question. I think before that I should take some other satellite based questions, very simple ones. Maybe transfer orbit at least I can take first. Escape velocity is done. There is geostationary orbit and the transfer orbit. Those cases I can take now. First of all, what is meaning of geostationary orbit?
Geostationary.
It appears stationary.
Sir.
It appears stationary above the surface of Earth. If a satellite is in orbit, that is called a geostationary satellite. If we talk about satellite in that orbit, then we call it geostationary satellite, and the corresponding orbit we call as geostationary orbit. Okay, both are related terms.
Okay. Sir.
Let us say when the satellite is at a height, it has a height h, then it is appearing to be at rest. For example, first of all, this will happen only. It will be only in equatorial plane. It will be always only in equatorial plane. It cannot be in any other plane. It will be always in equatorial plane. Then it will appear overhead to us. It will appear on the top of our head always. It will appear stationary in one place only if it lies in the equatorial plane. This is the orbit, let us say. Now Earth is rotating about its axis with angular speed. We can write down what is angular speed of rotation of Earth about its axis. That we can find, everybody can find out easily. Time period we know for Earth, because time period for Earth for 1 day is 24 hours. We can convert into seconds. 86400 seconds. We can find out omega in radian per second. That is the angular speed of rotation of Earth about its own axis. If the satellite is also having same angular speed omega, then the relative angular speed will become 0. Satellite with respect to Earth. Omega satellite minus omega Earth, which can become 0. And if that happens, if it so happens, then the things are pretty simple for us. then definitely just we have to write that omega of satellite we know, and that omega we can write down centrifugal force will provide us. What will be the centrifugal force? M into omega square into small r, and inward force is that gmm by capital M and small m. These forces we will balance. G capital M small m by r square is equal to M into omega square r. We have done it before also. Then omega comes out to be equal to omega
M
comes
by R.
out to be equal to G M by R cube under the root. But we know omega, that we can write as 2 pi by time period of satellite. Time period of our same, because it is geostationary satellite, so its time period should be same as that of 1 day, 1 full day, means 86400 seconds. Can we find it out then? What we want to find here? We want to find out the radius of the orbit. Main name is also to find out the radius of
Yes, sir.
geostationary orbit. Small r we want to find. Omega we know, we can get small r. You do the calculation, but I'm telling you this answer. It comes out to be approximately 36,000 kilometers. Height, sorry, it is our radius. Radius does not come out to be this.
Yes,
Height, h comes out to be this. Means radius will be more than that, because I know the height value. Radius can be obviously 6,400 kilometer up to the center. That is 6,400 kilometer plus extra height. So we can find the total also. What is the total? It comes out to be 42,400. Okay. You can do it in using calculator. I'm telling you to do using calculator so that you can be sure that what this value comes out to be. But as far as I know, it comes out to be nearly equal to 36,000 kilometers. Okay. Now, this is about geostationary orbit. If it is not this orbit, if it is any other height, then it will not be appearing to be stationary
Sir,
on the surface of Earth.
sir, I had doubts.
Yes.
Sir, the path followed, what will be the path followed, sir?
Path followed by whom?
By the satellite.
Circular?
Elliptical,
Elliptical, no.
elliptical, no, sir.
No. Circular. Why elliptical? For elliptical, how can I write m omega square r? When I am writing m omega square r formula, then it is only for circular. How can I write for elliptical? Centripetal acceleration is only for circular orbits, omega square r. Is it for elliptical also omega square r formula? How are you even thinking that? There is no such a formula omega square r for elliptical orbits.
For any shape other than circle.
For elliptical orbits, I said omega is also not defined for elliptical orbits. For elliptical orbits, it is
Only average omega defined.
And for elliptical orbits, I should write in terms of semi-major axis. I am writing here in terms of radius of the orbit. The radius of orbit is also not defined for elliptical orbit. We cannot say what is the radius of elliptical orbit. We can just simply say what is the semi-major axis, but we cannot say what is the radius of orbit because there is no radius defined for it. Radius, when I am using word radius, it is automatically meaning that it is circular orbit only. It has to be circular orbit. I think you are confused by the diagram which I have drawn. It is this diagram means if you look at the circle in a oblique, means if you look
Okay,
at circle
sir.
at some
Understood,
angle,
sir.
understood? If you look at circle at some angle, then it will appear like ellipse. No, but it does not mean it is ellipse. Top view of this, if I want to draw top view, it will be a proper circle. It will be something like this from the top view. Okay.
Okay, sir.
If you look at the top view, it will be something like this.
Sir, in a practical also same, na, sir?
What?
Practical.
Vertical? What are you saying? I don't.
In, I mean, geostationary, this practical, sir, in daily life.
Vertical?
In daily life also geostationary orbit will be circular, sir.
It will be circular only. Daily life, I don't understand what you mean by daily life. Means practically.
Practically,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, in
Practically, sir.
practically that
Yes, it is circular only. Why would it not be
geostationary
circular?
orbital will be circular.
Why would it not be circular? It is circular only. It is exactly circular. Actually, Okay, let me tell you the things, what happens in reality. Let me discuss reality a little bit. But reality is very complex. And as I told you, I'm avoiding the reality always. But that is what we do in gravitation chapter. That is what everybody does in gravitation chapter. And I'm also following the same course. But okay, I want to show you the real dangerous face of the reality. What is the dangerous face? Let us see that also. Which is so much means appearing to be difficult for us, then we will be completely worried and disturbed at what is happening here in reality. And we are happy to see that we are doing very simple things. I'm taking just 3 particles only. I'm not even taking the others. I'm taking Earth, Sun, and Moon. Sorry, Moon. So, how Earth moves? You see this is Earth's orbit. It is not even in fact correct also, because Earth and Moon, they are revolving around their common center of mass. So as they're revolving around their common center of mass, so Earth moves in what way? Earth does not move in this way. How does Earth move then? Earth moves in this way, around Sun. Earth moves in this way around Sun.
It will be moving
No.
itself also, sir.
Because Earth is also revolving around the center of mass. Earth and Moon system, they are revolving around the center of mass. One more thing. Again, these two are not there. In that, satellite is also there. So satellite will be revolving around these paths which Earth is tracing. Satellite will be revolving around it. So you see how complicated the path of that will be. And that too, when we are considering only these 3 things into account, not any other thing. In means other planets are there, they are also creating some distance. Sun is also moving, Sun is also not stationary, Sun is also moving. So when so many things are there, Sun is also moving, then you understand how complicated the real path is. We cannot even think about it. It is so complicated, so complex. But among the complexity, they are able to find out simplicity. Who? Those giants like Kepler, like Newton. That is wonderful thing. That is most amazing thing. That is really such a wonderful thing that you cannot even understand now, because now the things appear so simple for us, and it appears that Newton did probably simple thing, and Einstein probably did something wonderful. But I think at the time of Newton, when Newton discovered all these things, or maybe Kepler helped him or whoever, Kepler also was in fact helped by Tycho Brahe, who collected all the data. Kepler analyzed that data, that he understood that it is elliptical orbit. Newton explained why it is elliptical orbit. So there are a lot of generation of scientists who explained the things and made things simpler for us. So now we are just analyzing very, very simple things, but the reality is much complex. And if something is moving in this way, and then also being able to understand that actually this path is just this path, if we look it in this respect, that is also a wonderful achievement. That is a wonderful achievement. Okay. And especially, you know, what is ellipticity, eccentricity? What is the eccentricity of Earth? Earth's eccentricity, I don't remember exactly, but I think it is 0.03. As far as I remember, it is 0.03, I think. Eccentricity of the orbit. What does it mean? It means the orbit of Earth around Sun will be nearly circular. It is so small eccentricity. It is so small eccentricity. A into E will be so small that it will appear that A and B are nearly equal. And if A and B appear to be nearly equal, then we cannot even tell if somebody makes a model of Earth moving around Sun and they show you, then you will think it is circular orbit. Imagine if they are showing you the model on the paper, then you will think it is a circular orbit. You will not be able to tell it is a elliptical orbit. Imagine the talent of those genius, those who were able to tell by taking the astronomical observation, by looking at the satellites, by looking at the Sun and its positions in different times of the year. They are able to tell that actually it is elliptical. They are able to tell with this minute difference also, they are able to find out, and they are able to understand that it is not circular. It has small fluctuation from being circular, and it is actually elliptical. That is wonderful achievement really of those people. Now we cannot even understand how wonderful they did at that time. Anyway, enough of tribute to them. Let us come back to this. So where we were? Yes, here. So you understand that geostationary orbit that appears to be overhead, and it will be lying in equatorial plane. This is equatorial plane. North pole is this side, and south pole will be into the plane, under the plane. North pole is coming towards us, and south is away from us. That is this side, and this is the equatorial plane. This is equatorial plane. Okay.
Okay,
Where
sir.
the satellite is moving. Now,
Transfer.
this let us discuss one other satellite here. That will be for
1 0
That will be if I say what will be the I think this thing they can discuss in communication system also. I don't need to discuss probably now, but if somebody asks,
Sir,
let me discuss.
what about
Yes.
PSLV, sir? Huh?
What is PSLV?
No, nothing, sir.
Polar satellite launch vehicle.
Yes, sir. That doesn't come.
Is it that only?
Yes, sir.
Okay. PSLV is not in the equatorial plane as the name suggests. I don't know whether I said it right or not. I'm just guessing. Maybe it means polar.
PSLV is that one, sir. Polar synchronizing launch vehicle.
So if it means that, then it means that it is, as the name suggests, it is not in the equatorial plane. It is in. It will go along over the poles. So it is something else. That we have those kinds of satellites also. I'm not saying this is the only kind of satellite we are having, but in equatorial plane also we can have other satellites. In equatorial plane also need not be just geostationary. We can have other satellites. Although we
Change
don't need to
radius.
make that. The radius will change, then it will become some other. It will be some other satellite also, right? That is also possible. Anyway, let us say I have a satellite at a height h above in the equator, but this is not the geostationary orbit. If it is not the geostationary orbit, and I'm asking you, what will be the? If it is geostationary, I can ask you for that also. If it is geostationary orbit at a height h above, then what will be the area covered by this on the Earth surface by single satellite? So single satellite will not be able to cover the entire Earth surface if it is geostationary, because it will always remain overhead. If it always remains overhead, then it will be covering always from this to this place. This is radius r. R we know, h we know. We know the total distance, so we can find out the angles here. We can find this angle theta. If we know this angle theta, then we can find the solid angle omega will be equal to 2 pi into 1 minus cos theta. And if we know the solid angle, then I can multiply the solid angle by r square into omega, and I will get the area covered on the Earth. What will be the area covered on the Earth? So that will be r square into 2 pi into 1 minus cos theta. What is cos theta here? Cos theta is equal to r divided by r plus h. For geostationary one, it is only for geostationary. What we are finding here, area covered by geostationary satellite. Area covered. What about if it is not geostationary? Then it will not cover only one side of the face of the Earth. It will cover the other side also. It will go other side also, and it will not appear to be stationary on overhead only. Then it will be covering the entire area, but except which part remaining? This part will be remaining above and below. So it will not be able to cover this conical part above and conical part below. And this conical part will have what angle now? If it is theta, which I wrote, then this is pi by 2 minus theta. So area not covered will become. I'm not talking about geostationary now. For geostationary, we got this answer. Now we are talking about which is not geostationary.
Not geostationary.
If it is not geostationary, but it is also in equatorial plane, not geostationary, and it is in equatorial plane only. Not geostationary, but still lies in equatorial plane. But it is in equatorial plane only. Then what area it will cover? Then it will cover area not covered. We will find out. Total area will be 4 pi r square. 4 pi r square minus area not covered. So what is area not covered? Area not covered is easy to find out. That will be equal to just
r square into 2 pi into 1 minus
r
sin
square into 2 omega. What is 1 omega dash? Let us call it omega dash. R square into 2 omega dash. What is 1 omega dash here? Omega dash is equal to 2 pi into 1 minus cos of 90 minus theta. That will become sin theta. So it will become 2 pi into 1 minus sin theta. That is omega dash. So it is able to cover this much we can find. What is not covered we know. Then we can tell what area it is covering. Okay, and what part it will not be covering. That
1 plus sin theta.
All right. Okay, whatever it is. Now I'm not interested in devoting much time on it. It is otherwise also I think not that much required for this week. There are many more important things which we can do before that. Transfer orbit. First of all, let me start that at least. Transfer orbit. Very interesting thing. And after that, one more pending question is also there that I think I cannot even do today. Tomorrow I will have to do probably, which I was discussing before. No, that I will do tomorrow. Transfer orbit means, huh?
That one, no, sir. You told projecting with a velocity from top.
Projecting with a velocity at an angle theta, but velocity is not small. And normally we ask, it is like asking range. But now when I'm asking horizontal range, first of all, it will not remain horizontal. It will be something else only, because the horizontal will also keep on changing. No, horizontal. There is no notion of horizontal surface on a Earth if we are looking from outside. That is always locally defined. In a local place, we can say what is horizontal. But overall, it is a curved surface. It is not a plane surface. So if I find what is the range, then that range will be obtainable from one point. It will hop on from this place to this place. It will be something else only, right? But and what will be the height obtained, or what height will be? It will be something like this actually. In that case, let me tell you what happens actually. It will be like a elliptical orbit. It will be like elliptical orbit, and it will be one part of that elliptical orbit which it will be having. And in that case, the height obtained will be nothing but it will be like we call it. It is away. Away we call as aphelion. If it is away from the sun, but it is away from the earth, so we call it as apogee. The point which is farthest away from the earth, from the center, that we call as apogee, and the point which is closest from the earth in the elliptical orbit, that we call as perigee. For earth we use G. Geostationary. Geo stands for earth. G stands for earth. Perigee, apogee. These are the words used. Apogee, farthest point. Perigee, closest point in the orbit of satellite around earth. Understood? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
In general, if it is not earth or sun, or if it is in general, then I think there is a name for it which I don't remember exactly. Epiepsis, I think. Epiepsis, I don't know exactly. If I search in Google, I will be able to find something. Apsis they use. Apepsis, periapsis, something like this. I don't remember exactly what it is. Anyway, transfer orbit. A for away. Remember one thing only, A for away. Whether it is aphelion, apogee, or epiepsis, whatever it is. If I want to, first of all, what is the minimum energy required to be given to a satellite to make it move in a circular orbit of radius r? This is the first question. After that, I will come to transfer orbit also. What is the minimum energy required to be given to make a satellite move in a circular orbit of radius smaller? What's the minimum energy required to be given to it? That is nothing but the energy difference from surface to the orbit. Whatever is the difference, that is what we need to give. Mechanical energy difference we need. So what it will be, I will write energy required to be given. Let's say I need to give kinetic energy K1 at the surface of Earth 1, and this is orbit, it is 2. Then K1 plus U1 will be equal to K2 plus U2. That is the minimum energy required to be given. Minimum energy required to be given to satellite. Minimum energy required to be given to satellite to make it orbit. To make it orbit around Earth at a distance smaller. What is the minimum energy required to be given to satellite to make it orbit around Earth at a distance smaller? And other data is given, for example, R, etc. We need that may be given.
So changing
What's the kinetic?
energy, sir.
Huh? K1, what are you saying? I could not listen. Minus G small m by R is equal to K2. Kinetic energy at the orbit and potential energy at the orbit. I told you total mechanical energy at any circular orbit. Total mechanical energy at any circular orbit will be just equal to U2 by 2. You remember it?
Yes, sir.
Minus G m small m by R into 2 minus G m by R, and that is K1. So what is the kinetic energy required to be given? Kinetic energy required to be given will come out to be G m into 1 by R minus 1 by 2. Simple. That's the minimum energy required to be given to make it orbit in a circular orbit of radius smaller. But this will not be helping us if I don't convert again back into GSR square, because I know G, I know R, but I don't know G capital M. So that I have already told you. So you can do that also finally, and you can get the answer. Next question. I now want to do another thing. This is one thing we did. We made it go to one orbit, but I'm not satisfied there. And finally, I wanted to send it to another orbit. I want to change the orbit. How to achieve that change of orbit thing? That is our main concern now. I want to go it from one orbit to the other orbit in this way. Okay. Initially it was in this pink, magenta, whatever this color is. In this orbit it was initially, and finally it is in green colored orbit. Orbit radius is given initially to be maybe small r, and finally it is given, let us say, 2r. Now, what is the energy required to be given to make it transfer from one orbit to the other orbit? We know that also can be done in the same way as we are doing normally.
By subtracting total energy.
Yes, by subtracting the total mechanical energies, we can find out what is the additional energy required. That is simple. But let us think the real scenario, practical scenario. Obviously not 100% practical, because I said so many complicated things are coming there. Let us forget all the complexities. Assume the stationary Earth, not moving, just remaining fixed, and there is no other thing in space other than this Earth and this satellite. In that case, in that simple scenario I'm taking, then we know that it can go from this space. I'm giving some extra energy to it, maybe by firing some thrusters. Thrusters means there will be a satellite will be with a satellite launch vehicle that will be some like kind of rocket. That rocket will eject some gases. As a result, the rocket will be gaining some
controls.
Speed will be gaining speed. So it will be able to change the speed of it by firing some thrusters. Okay, a simple satellite is nothing but a stone can be a satellite. If a stone is revolving around the Earth, that is also a satellite. So if you hear something that some university has created some satellite, and they are now, that satellite is now in the space, and don't think that it is some very big achievement done by some students. They are able to make satellite. I told you, satellite could be just a stone. Obviously, that will not be a stone which they will be sending into the space. Then they have no achievement. They will be creating some small satellite, which could be maybe few kgs weight also, that will be able to communicate with some devices on the Earth. So it will be like, it will be able to communicate with Earth. It will be able to send a signal to the space, and from the space the signal can come back, return to the Earth. That is what they are able to do. But that is not main achievement. Main achievement is of the launch vehicles which are launching the satellites. That cannot be done easily. That is very tough thing to do. But making satellite is not tough. You can also make your satellites. That is not a tough task. Okay. Anyway, let us say this is the satellite with the launch vehicle, and the rocket is also there in this, which can fire the thrusters. So because of the thrusters, it gains some speed. It gains speed, and now with the new speed, it will be in a different orbit now. As you know already, what is the formula for mechanical energy? Mechanical energy is equal to minus
U by
3 m by 2a. That is it. Let us say initially its radius, radius was r1, and finally radius is r2. Then, in order to be able to send to that, first of all, I have to make it go in an orbit which will be this kind of. Sorry, let me try to make an ellipse. It is difficult to do here. I'm not able to make ellipse properly here. This is appearing. This is appearing like a circle only. I don't know why I'm not able to make it properly. I will delete it, and I will just make a rough diagram. It may not be. This way it will come. Sorry. This way it will come. It is elliptical orbit. It is elliptical orbit. It will come to this place, and then what happens if it is in this elliptical orbit? Then it will again go back, and it will again reach here. So is it transferred to the second orbit, second circular orbit? No, it is still not transferred. Even though I increase the speed, but what is the effect of increasing the speed? Whatever speed I increase, I may increase as much speed as I want, and I may increase speed in any direction. Some of you may think that I am increasing speed in wrong direction. I am increasing the speed in tangential direction, and I should probably increase speed in some different direction. Maybe I should increase the speed in this direction. Whatever direction you increase the speed, finally it will again be coming to that place only. Why? Because ellipse, the path followed, I told you what path this satellite follows. It cannot follow any other path other than this well-defined paths, which are elliptical, circular, straight line, parabola, hyperbola. Parabola, hyperbola are not possible here. Why? Those will be possible only when the thing is escaping to infinity. But I'm not escaping to infinity. It is still bounded orbit. If it is still bounded orbit, then it has to be only probably elliptical or circular.
Elliptical or circular.
If it is elliptical and circular, then these are closed orbits. These are closed means if they start from here, in whichever direction to give it a velocity, it has to return into that place only. It has to again return to that place. After you stop changing, if you continuously keep on changing the velocity, then it is a different scenario. But if you are not continuously changing the velocity, you suddenly change the velocity in this place by firing some thrusters, and then you left it to move on its own. Then if it is moving on its own, then it will follow the same path again. So if you may think that why it is changing path from here to here, that is happening because it was firing thrusters. But is it continuously firing? No. It fired for a moment, it gained some velocity, and as a result, its path changed. When it gained some speed, its kinetic energy changed, mechanical energy changed. When mechanical energy changes, mechanical energy is directly the function of semi-major axis. When mechanical energy changes, the semi-major axis has to change. So it will be now in a different orbit.
Yes.
Its orbit will change, definitely. That will definitely happen. But again, it will be a closed orbit, so it will come back again. It will return back to the same place. And I don't want that to happen. If I don't want that to happen, then what thing I can do? I should try to make it go in this way. It should go from here to here. And then here I should again fire thrusters again. So that, because if I have to make it go from here to here, then what ellipse, what is the value of R1 and R2? Here
To match the speed at that orbit.
Here its radius was R1 and its 2a was equal to, for a circular orbit, what is 2a value? That is equal to 2R1. So I'm changing 2R1 to R1 plus R2. If it is going from here to here, then I'm changing it from R1 to R1 plus R2. This distance is becoming R1 plus R2. And finally, I want to change it to, I will go in this way. First, it was 2R1, value of 2a was 2R1 for circle, and it changed to R1 plus R2 when it became elliptical. Then it has to again change to 2R2 when it has to again become new circular orbit. So there is an intermediate orbit which should be there. I don't want that. I have to make it go from here to here. But I'm not directly making it go. I have to go through the intermediate orbit. And that intermediate orbit is called as transfer orbit, because its purpose is only to transfer. What kind of intermediate orbit it may be? Now, there may be several possibilities to do this thing. It is not necessarily I will do in this way only. I can do in many ways. I can do this way also. In fact, I can make it go with escape velocity also first. It may go with escape velocity. It may follow some hyperbolic path. But after it reaches here, then I will fire these thrusters again, and I will control it in such a way so that it again starts following this orbital path here. But why should I do that? Why should I waste my energy and the fuel to make it first acquire extra speed, and then again that speed has to decrease, and then again I have to make it to come to the green orbit? That I should not do. It will be wastage of fuel. So normally they don't do that. Normally they will be doing something like this only. They will be making it go from, in the transfer orbit, they will be making it. They may make it go this way also, maybe sometimes. It may come here. Here they may have to refire the thrusters in order to make it come to this orbit. But I think most efficient way will be not this. Most efficient way will be if it comes from here to this place in half elliptical orbit. It is half elliptical orbit. And after half elliptical orbit, then they will again fire the thrusters here again, and then it will go into the new orbit. So how the velocity will change? Velocity will change from orbital velocity in the first orbit. Let us call that orbital velocity in the first orbit to be V1. Then it will change from V1 to, what should I call it now in elliptical orbit? I think I have a name for it. I will call it VP, velocity at perigee. It is acting as a perigee for the elliptical orbit, right? It is as a RP for the elliptical orbit, and it is acting as RA for the elliptical orbit. So I will call it, here its velocity will become what? Its velocity automatically will become VA at apogee. I will not make it, because as it goes from here to here, the velocity automatically becomes VA. But I have to change it now, and I have to change it from VA to V2, the orbital velocity of the second orbit. I have to change it from VA to V2. That is what I have to do. So first I'm changing it from V1 first orbital velocity to perigee velocity. Then perigee velocity to apogee, I'm not changing, automatically it is happening. Then I'm firing the thrusters again to change the velocity from VA to V2. That I'm doing it. If you have understood this, now you tell me all these values. What values you have to tell me? You have to tell me values of V1, VP, VA, V2. All these values first you find out. This is the question which I am asking you. In terms of what values you have to find out. I am giving you G, capital M, small r1 and r2. This is given to you. Given G, capital M, small r1, small r2, that is given. And what we have to find out? We have to find out all the velocities. Actually, aim was not to find out the velocities. Aim was what is the change in, what is the impulse given in the, they ask this question in this way. What is the impulse given in the first stage when we are making it go to elliptical orbit? What is the impulse given in the second stage? But I can find out the first impulse and the second impulse. How? By writing mass into change in velocity. Change in velocity means Vp minus V1. What will be the impulse in the second stage? That will be m into, again change in velocity, that will be V2 minus VA. So we can obtain that. That we can obtain if I know the velocities. I can ask you what is the kinetic energy required to be given in the first stage? What is the energy added in the first stage? So energy given in the first stage. Which is the first stage? First stage when I make it go from circular to elliptical orbit. In first stage, energy required to be given will be, again noise, who is talking?
Change in kinetic energy.
Change in kinetic energy, yes. No, not change in potential energy. Why not change in potential energy? Because we are in the same location. Only kinetic energy changes. So only kinetic energy changes, then I have to write it as half of m into Vp square minus V1 square. That is in the first stage. What is the energy required in the second stage? Second stage means when again elliptical to circular.
Circular.
This one is circular to elliptical. I can call this elliptical orbit as, there's a name for it, TO, transfer orbit. This is TO, transfer orbit. I think I put heading transfer orbit or not. This is transfer orbit. Okay. So I can go from transfer orbit to circular orbit. So what is the K2? K2 will become half of m into V2 square, velocity in the second orbit, minus velocity at apogee square. So mainly aim was to find out the velocities. Please do that. Do the needful. How to find out the velocities? That also I have told you yesterday, but I told you in a quick way and you may not be understanding it. I told always we can get velocity. This energy formula is so useful. Once you know the energy formula, it is always giving us velocity very quickly, very fast, very fast. Just write mechanical energy minus potential energy. That will be kinetic energy. If you know kinetic energy, then velocity comes. Does it come or not?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Minus
So mainly I have to write mechanical energy, and mechanical energy is so simple to write. Always we can write in 2A terms. So what is the mechanical energy in the first orbit? I can write. What is mechanical energy in the transfer orbit? I can get. What is the mechanical energy in the second circular orbit? I can get. I can get this value so easily. So potential energy remains same here. So the change in kinetic energy is also equal to change in mechanical energy. So if somebody is asking you what is the change in kinetic energy, I am asking you what is the energy required to be given. So energy required to be given will be equal to change in the mechanical energy also. I can say E21 minus ETO minus E1. That is the energy required to be given in first stage. What is the energy required to be given in the second stage? That is, this is the energy required to be given in the second stage. We can find out energy required to be given in each stage. To shift the satellite from inner circular orbit
sir.
Sir,
Sir, we can't hear your voice.
sir,
Yes. Okay, for circular orbits, how to find out the velocity for circular orbits? K is equal to u by 2. This is one way. Another way is centrifugal force is equal to the inward force. That's how we can find for the circular orbits. What we want to find out? To find velocity for the circular orbits. To find velocity in circular orbits.
sir.
Hmm.
Here, why potential energy is not taken the VT1 minus C1?
Potentially, how can it change when we are providing it thrusting here? Here R1 is same only, right? That also.
Okay, sir.
Right, that U1 will get cancelled with U1 only. We are in the same location. We are not changing the location.
Okay, sir.
Within the same location, we are firing thrusters for a very small instant of time. We are giving it like an impulse over a small duration of time. In that duration of time, it does not change much. It may be like this also. It may be firing thrusters from here to here. But it is not like it is firing continuous thrusters from here to here. Then if it is firing continuously, then the path will also not remain elliptical. Then it will be some other path. Neither elliptical nor a parabola nor a hyperbola, some other path it will become. Because that elliptical path is only when it is under gravity and no other force is acting on it, no extra force is acting on it. Okay. Right?
Sir. Yes,
Okay, sir.
So how to find out the velocity in the circular orbit? To find velocity in the circular orbit, two ways. I proved yesterday. Yesterday I proved. Actually, this is simplest way. We should do this only. This is okay. But yesterday this centrifugal force is equal to G inward force. But yesterday from here only I proved this thing also. From here only we can prove this.
Yes, sir.
So
yes, sir.
Mechanical energy also you proved, sir.
So this also, and now third way, that is also very simple. E total mechanical energy is equal to minus GMM by 2A. We should remember it. And if we remember it, then it will be helping us for always. E minus U will be equal to K, whatever the case may be now, whether circular or elliptical or any case, it is valid always. So I will recommend to use this formula as often as you want. It will make you habit of this formula, and if you get habituated to this, then it will be helping you in elliptical orbits. Although for circular orbits it is not required. For circular orbits we have so many other ways, but for elliptical orbit we have to do this way only. So therefore I want you to make a habit of this. As far as what is the value of A for circular orbit, that will be equal to the radius of orbit itself will become A. For example, for inner circular orbit, the value of A can be taken as R1. For outer circular orbit, the value of A can be taken as R2. And for the transfer orbit, the value of A can be taken as, R1 plus R2 by 2. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right. This is how we can do this particular question of transfer orbit. Some other questions which we can ask now. For example, let me try to do that one. Before that I do that, I will explain here. Okay, this one I will do now. I will take all the cases together in one diagram. Which cases? For different values of eccentricity. When it will become elliptical, when it will become circular, all those cases I will cover in this single diagram. Let me try to do that. Okay, sorry. Wait, I think I should do this thing first. This one. Next, I want to make I think right. And then I would like to make now it seems okay. Somewhat. And at last, one more I would like to take. Diagrams are sometimes difficult to make. Okay. Fine, I think. So diagram may not be exact. So you have to just listen to me. What I'm saying, that you have to listen, right? Diagram, if I'm saying it is ellipse, you assume it to be ellipse, thing like that. If I'm saying it is circle, you assume it to be circle. Anyway, are you there with me or not?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let us see here. There are different kinds of orbits I have drawn here in one place only. Let us say from a height h, I am projecting the particles with different speeds. So different possibilities I am taking now. What possibilities could be there? It could be one kind of elliptical orbit. It could be circular orbit. It could be another kind of elliptical orbit, or it could be fourth kind of orbit, or it could be a fifth kind of orbit also actually, that is 5. These all are possible. The fourth kind is when E is equal to 1, which we call as parabola. This is when E is greater than 1, which we call as hyperbola. This is for E less than 0 to 1.
and greater than 0.
1 to 0, it is that. And this one is
Second one is for E is close to 0.
V is equal to VO, orbital velocity. This one is for V greater than orbital velocity. This one is for V equal to escape velocity. This one is for V greater than escape velocity. This VO for orbital, VO for orbital. When we say orbital velocity, then it means which orbit. It does not mean elliptical orbital velocity. This orbital velocity, when we use, you can write it somewhere, it means circular orbit only, because orbital velocity cannot be defined for elliptical orbit. It changes from place to place. So we can define orbital velocity only for those cases where it is permanently constant, and that is happening only for circular orbits. So this is the circular orbit. The second orbit is circular orbit. First orbit is also elliptical orbit. That is, and one is directly straight line path falling into the earth. So that is 0th orbit, let us say. That also we can consider like orbit only. So all these possibilities are there. Elliptical, parabola. This is parabola. Parabola. The fifth one is hyperbola. Hyperbola. This one is elliptical. Elliptical. There are two elliptical here, red elliptical and the blue elliptical. What is the difference? One elliptical lies within the circular orbit and another elliptical lies. One elliptical lies within the circular orbit. What is the radius of that circular orbit? That radius will be this r, whatever it is. So we know that we can have case where v is less than orbital velocity, and we can have case where v is greater than orbital velocity. So when v is less than orbital velocity, then also it is ellipse, but that ellipse will lie within the circle. And when we have v greater than v naught, that is also ellipse, but that ellipse will be bigger than the circle, and it will be containing circle as its own part. Circular orbit, it will be its part. Small. It will be within it. Means it will not be its part. It will be within it. It will be inside it. One thing here that I can say, that in the first orbit, elliptical orbit, this initial starting point, this is our starting point. Which is our starting point? I am assuming that I am projecting all the particles from here, from this place. You understand this? I am highlighting this one. From here I am projecting. If here I am projecting with different speeds, and depending upon that they are occurring different orbits. Out of these 1, 2, 3 are bonded, 4 and 5 are unbonded. 4 is just elliptical orbit, which is only for one velocity. If I see, 4 is really interesting. If I give it slightly more than VE, then it becomes hyperbola. It will not be bonded. And if I give it slightly less than VE, then it becomes elliptical orbit. But it will be such a long elliptical orbit that it will probably go and it will take a very, very, very long infinite time to return back. It will be, if it is slightly less than VE, then it will still be going far away, but it will be coming a lot of time to return back. And if I consider similarly VO, this will be only for which case? It will be only for E equal to 0, eccentricity exactly 0. So if I take slight fluctuation from VO, means I give V little greater than VO, then again E does not remain 0. And if E does not remain 0, it becomes elliptical. And if I give slightly less than V0, then also it becomes elliptical. So means circular and parabola, these are just only for one particular velocity cases. Therefore, these have only one value of E, only just 0 and only E1. But for others, it is a range. All values E greater than 1. All values for V greater than VE, this is hyperbola. For all values of V greater than V0, it is elliptical orbit. For all values of V less than V0, it is again elliptical orbit. So these are ranges for elliptical orbits. But for circular orbit, it is just one value. For parabola, it is just one value of velocity in which it will be possible. Is it okay? So if I am projecting here particle with velocity V0, then will it follow circular orbit? If I am projecting here particle with velocity V0, where V0 is equal to root of, what is required for circular orbit?
GM by capital.
GM by, no, small r it will be.
2G.
Oh, yes, that's not.
Not 2 also. 2 will be for 2 will be for elliptical, escape velocity. It is orbital velocity.
Okay,
For
sir.
orbital velocity, 2 is orbital velocity. Let us check once again. G mm by r square is equal to m into v square by r. I can say this way also. Then r will get cancelled out. Then we are getting v is equal to root gm by r.
Yes,
Orbital
sir.
velocity is, it is just root gm by r. Okay. Anyway, so if I give it a orbital velocity at a distance r, I give orbital velocity corresponding to that distance, then it will be moving in a circular path or not?
Yes, sir. It will be moving in a circular path.
Not necessarily. One more thing is required. What is the other thing required to be done? It should be projected at 90 degree to the radial line. Then it will be following circular path. If I project it from here with this velocity, orbital velocity of this place, but I give it a velocity at an angle theta, although it is equal to root gm by r, but I'm giving it at an angle theta, then it will no more be circular orbit. It will be some other orbit. It will be elliptical orbit.
Sir,
So I
can't
have
you?
to give v naught. I have to give v naught, and I have to give exactly at 90 degree to the radial line. Then
It
will
also
automatically
depends
start
upon
following.
angle also, no, sir? 90 degrees.
What?
It also depends upon angle.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It should be making 90 degree with the radial line, then only it will be circular. But if it is not 90 degree with the radial line, then it will become elliptical. So for this, it should be only one way is there for this orbital, this circular orbit. Not only it has to be equal to v naught, but at the same time it should be projected at an angle 90 degree with the radial line. As far as the parabola is concerned, that doesn't depend on this thing actually. That I can project it with any angle, but only one angle I have to avoid. Which angle I have to avoid? I have to avoid those angles in which
90.
it strikes the earth. It should not strike the earth.
Less than
Avoid
90.
those angles. Avoid those angles in which it strikes the earth. Other than that, you take any angle. If it will always be for v equal to ve, it will always be parabola. For v greater than ve, it will always be hyperbola. Okay, irrespective of the angle, right? And what about
Okay.
for v equal to 0? For v equal to 0, it will just fall into the earth. It will be straight line. For v equal to ve, but projected along the radial line, then obviously it will be straight line. That straight line is exception. That will be possible for v equal to ve, for v greater than ve, for all velocities it is possible. If the velocities are given along the radial line, then it will just become a straight line. Okay.
Okay, sir.
All right. So now the question is, what will be the minimum velocity? I can ask you here, if I give any velocity less than v naught, will it be executing the elliptical path? No, not right. Why? Because for some cases, it will be able to collide with the earth, and I don't want that to happen. If I don't want that to happen, then what is the minimum speed which I can give it so that it does not collide with the earth? The minimum speed that I can give it so that it does not collide with the earth will be this.
Exactly. Racing at the surface.
Yes, grazing the surface. So means what is the minimum value of 2a that I can give it? Minimum value of 2a that I can give is equal to r plus
R
r.
plus capital R.
They are asking this thing. They are asking what is the minimum speed that I can give so that it just grazes the surface. Listen again what I said. They are asking this question, what is the minimum speed that I can give so that it just grazes the surface? But you forget that. And you think, what is the minimum value of semi-major axis that it can have? Because from here we can get easily r small r plus r, and from here I can get the speed always. Why I can get the speed always from here? Because it always gives us e.
Is
And
equals
e
to
always
minus
gives us v.
v. Yes, sir.
Very simple, very, very simple logic. This always gives us e, and e always gives us v. Very simple. If I know the total e, then I told you total e minus potential energy will give us kinetic energy, and potential energy is so simple that depends on r. Potential energy is equal to minus g m by r. So once you know potential energy, once you know total energy, then you can tell potential energy also from there. E minus u is equal to half mv square. We can get velocity very easily.
Yes, sir.
In fact, you remember this formula for velocity at any place. You remember this formula. Let me write a formula for velocity, which will be always valid. Always it will be valid. E minus u is equal to half of m into v square. So always velocity will be equal to 2 into e minus u divided by m under the root, which I will write again as g minus g m by 2a and minus of minus g m by r at a distance r. Velocity at a distance r. I'm writing as a function of r. That formula is always valid, which will be equal to finally 2 into g capital M small m into 1 by r minus 1 by 2a. That is the formula which is always valid. For orbits, obviously 2a is defined for orbits. For which orbit 2a is defined? 2a is defined for two kinds of orbits. For elliptical orbit and for
Circular also.
For circular also it is defined. So this formula will always be applicable for both for circular orbits and for elliptical orbits. For circular and elliptical
Sir,
orbits. Wait a second. Wait a second. Let me finish. For circular and elliptical orbits, this formula will be valid. Which one? Where I started writing 2a. This first one is valid for all cases, but after that, where I started writing 2a, that will not be valid for all cases. That is valid only for, okay, you understand it. The one where I started writing 2a, that is valid only for elliptical orbits or circular orbits. Now you tell me what you want to ask.
time completed.
Time is over. Okay, fine. Okay, sorry.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Completed.
Let us end it here then. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, right.